It started with $5,000. A hospital bill so big, it could ruin our holidays. That's what I saw when I opened the envelope addressed to my boyfriend. After insurance, it still demanded $5,000 for a single emergency room visit after an accident. Nothing major, no surgery, no overnight stay, just standard ER care. But that number? It wasn't just a figure on a page. It was a threat to our savings, to our plans, to our peace of mind. I offered to handle it. I'd done this before, fought back against absurd medical billing. He said sure, probably thinking I'd call customer service, maybe wait on hold a bit and get a small discount. He had no idea. Neither did I. Not really. But I knew one thing. If we just paid that money, we'd be letting them win. Letting a system that thrives on silence walk away with thousands it didn't deserve. And I wasn't about to do that. So I asked him to call the hospital and authorize me to speak on his behalf, to access his medical records, to handle the bill. He agreed. Just like that, I became his advocate, and I went to war. The first step was getting an itemized bill. That alone took effort. Hospitals don't make it easy. But eventually, it landed in my inbox. Line after line of charges, vague descriptions, cryptic codes, outrageous fees. I started comparing, looking up fair market prices, cross-referencing national averages, and what I found made my blood boil. They charged 7 times the average rate for basic procedures. 7 times. I called the billing department. They told me they don't handle disputes, just collect payments. If I had concerns, I'd need to talk to admin. So I did, or tried. I bounced through phone trees, got passed around like a problem nobody wanted to own. Nobody could help me. Nobody would help me. That's when I realized this system isn't broken. It's designed like this. So I changed my approach. I opened LinkedIn. I started searching for names. Board members, directors, senior leadership, anyone who had authority at the hospital, anyone who had influence. I compiled a list of 30 email addresses. Then I looked up the hospital's major investors, the companies that fund them, their PR departments, and I started writing. Every day, I sent a few emails, each message more detailed than the last. I laid out the charges, the overbilling, the silence from customer service. I explained that my client had been billed at a rate 7 times higher than the national average, and I was seeking a written explanation. I was always polite, always professional, but I was firm. As the days passed, my emails climbed the chain. Managers, directors, executives, until I was CCing the entire board of directors and the investors who kept their hospital running. And I was no longer just asking for answers. I was demanding accountability. I asked them to provide written justification for their billing practices. I pointed out the failure of every department we'd contacted, and I reminded them, in careful, legal language, that I would not stop until this was addressed. Properly, transparently. Every message took maybe 15 minutes, but each one was a brick in the wall I was building, a wall they could no longer ignore. And then, they caved. The $5,000 bill? Reduced to $26? Yes, $26. I couldn't believe it. We'd won. I'd actually done it. I texted him immediately. He jumped up and down in the living room, shouting that I was a miracle. A Christmas miracle. He hugged me. He was glowing. Until he asked how I did it. I said it wasn't too hard. Just a few emails a day. He asked to see them, so I handed him my phone. And that's when everything changed. He started scrolling, then flipping back further and further. Dozens of emails, detailed, strategic, bold. His face changed. His body stiffened. "You went way too far," he said. "I thought you were just going to talk to billing, not internet stalk every manager and investor, not harass a whole damn hospital." I tried to explain that I had tried the normal routes, that nobody responded, that the billing department literally said it wasn't their job, that if I hadn't escalated, we'd still be stuck with the full balance, that I never insulted anyone. I never yelled. I just asked the right questions to the right people. But he didn't hear any of that. He said I embarrassed him, that what I did looked threatening, that I made it seem like we were about to sue or go public or destroy their PR. He said he only gave me permission to dispute the bill, not unleash corporate warfare. And I just stood there, in shock. After everything, the research, the persistence, the emotional labor, he was mad at me. I'd saved us $5,000. I made it possible for us to afford the holidays, to breathe again. And somehow, I was the problem. I felt furious, hurt, undervalued, like I'd stepped in to fight a battle he couldn't face. And instead of gratitude, I got guilt-tripped. And maybe I scared him. Not because I was wrong, but because I showed a side of myself he'd never seen. I'm usually soft, friendly, cooperative. But at work, in engineering, I've learned to push back, to be precise, assertive, calculated. Maybe seeing that version of me, the one who didn't flinch at systems or power, unsettled him. Maybe he wasn't ready for that. And yet, what choice did I have? If we don't stand up to these systems, who will? He said I crossed a line. So, am I the asshole? This is AITA Story Vault, and here's our reflection. This story isn't just about a hospital bill. It's about power. It's about the invisible lines society tells us not to cross, especially if you're a woman, especially if you're too loud, especially if you're the one who fights back. It's about what happens when kindness wears armor, when someone refuses to be quiet just to keep the peace, when someone says, "No, I'm not going to let you rob us," and smile about it. The American healthcare system is a labyrinth of silence and stress. It punishes the vulnerable, and it counts on people not knowing their rights or being too exhausted to demand them. But this woman, she learned the rules, and she used them, not for revenge, not for ego, but to correct something wrong, something broken. And what did she get? Not applause, not admiration, but fear from the very person she helped. So maybe the deeper question isn't, did she go too far? Maybe it's, why do we still flinch when someone breaks the silence? Why are we more uncomfortable with those who call out injustice than we are with the injustice itself? And if you were in her shoes, or in his, what would you have done? Let us know in the comments. Was she right to push this far? Would you want someone like her on your side? Or would it scare you too? This is AITA Story Vault. Subscribe for more true stories that challenge your judgment and maybe your heart.